All right, we're going to go on the record. Court is calling 2020 CR 9880, 9881, 9882, 9883, 9884, 9885, 9886, 9888, 9889, 9890, 9891, 9892. State of Texas versus Joshua Patillo. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Daniel Escobar for the state of Texas.
Defense.
Kathy Compton for Mr. Patillo.
All right, if you'll come down, please, sir. And are you Mr. Patel?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you entered a plea in several of the cause numbers. And you entered a plea of no contest, and you entered a plea of true to the enhancements. And each of the cause numbers that you pled to, the judge found that there was sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and the judge found the enhancement true. According to the plea bargain agreements in each cause number, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 20 years. The cases were run concurrently. There are no applications, and the state is taking in consideration the following cause numbers: 2020 CR 9887, 9889, 9890. And there's to be restitution, if any, to the complainants and no contact with the complainants. Did everyone have a chance to review the PSI report, state?
Yes, Judge.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections to the PSI report, state?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
No objection, although I would like the court to note that there was an
Just 1 second, I'm sorry. Everyone, y'all need to whisper like you are spies, and if you are heard, there will be deadly consequences for you and your client. All right, you may continue.
I did note in the PSI, Your Honor, that while my client did disclose during the interview with the officer that he had been previously designated as ABT,
Yes.
Aryan Brotherhood, that they also said that he was showing up in Tex Gang as Mexican Mafia. I believe what the confusion is that his father actually, I believe, at some point was designated Mexican Mafia, but my client never has.
All right, and what is his father's name?
Dad's name, Charles Mike, Patillo.
All right.
So it just seemed very odd that he was designated as two things that you normally would not see.
Yes.
As being I don't think those are co-gang memberships.
I wondered about that.
Yeah, I don't think those are two flavors that mix in the TDC system. So that, other than that, Your Honor, I didn't have any objection, and I don't have any objection to the PSI.
All right, and the court received a supplemental report. I have not reviewed the supplemental report because I wanted to make sure that both parties had received the supplemental.
I have not seen a supplemental.
All right. It appears to just be one page. As I said, I haven't read it. It was just in the file that was submitted to me with the PSI report. And it's, if you all can review that, and if you have any objections to the court review on that, let me know. All right. State, do you have any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, do you have any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe just by agreement, the state has agreed to allow Sarah Patillo to appear via Zoom, and I do see that she is on. So I would like to call her.
And Mr. Patillo,
Yes, ma'am.
can you raise your right hand for me,
I
please?
can't because I'm chained up.
That's okay. Well, let me ask you this. Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, can you state your name for the record?
Joshua David Patillo.
All right, do you understand you have a right to have witnesses appear in person? You need to answer.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, do you have any objections to Sarah Patillo appearing by Zoom?
No, ma'am.
And state, do you have any objections?
No, Your Honor.
In defense, do you have any objections?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Patillo, if you could raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly
Yes,
swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand. Just make sure you keep your voice up so that the court reporter can hear. If you speak your name for the record.
Sarah Patillo.
All right, defense.
Thank you. Sarah, can you let the judge know, how was it when, Joshua was living with you previously? And, what did you do about the situation when he wasn't doing what he needed to do?
How's it going, man? How are you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Well, when Joshua was living with me and my mother, we did go through a time when I felt that he could have been doing better. And so I did contact his parole officer at the time to just let him know that we wanted to make sure that Joshua was doing what he was supposed to, because his success is very important to our family and seeing him succeed. And so,
Well, let me stop you and ask you this. If Joshua were able to parole, are you willing to have him parole to your home?
yes, ma'am.
And if he were to parole, would you have any issue contacting his parole officer again if he was not doing what he needed to do to be successful on parole?
No.
Absolutely not.
So are these conversations that you've had with him as far as what your expectations would be if he were to have another opportunity to come and live with you?
Yes, ma'am. My brother knows that if he did have the opportunity to come and live with me, that he would definitely have to abide by all the rules and stated for whatever he's been given.
And let me ask you, who lives with you in your home now?
My 6-year-old daughter, Amaya Joy Patillo.
And your mother has passed away during the time that your brother's been in custody, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. She passed May 14th, 2023.
And how do you believe that affected your brother as far as his outlook on his future?
I believe that it has affected Joshua greatly. My mother was very close to both of us. But I think it also has given him an outlook to look forward to the future and making better choices. And just living the life that he knows God's calling him to.
And have you seen, you are aware of Joshua's medical diagnoses, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have dealt with his mental health challenges over the years, is that correct as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you see a difference in him that is significant or not since he's been regulated on his medications here?
I do. I have seen a
What
change.
differences do you see?
I have seen less aggression, and I've seen Joshua progress in his ability to, I think, just handle, this whole situation better than maybe he could before.
And you know that the judge has up to a number of 20 years to sentence Joshua for the cases that we're here on. Why is it that you believe the judge should consider something lower end of that range rather than the 20 years?
I would have to say that my prayer for my brother is that wherever he would be safest and in his sound mind and able to live and function in the way that he was created to would be what I would hope for him. And mercy, you know, sometimes isn't deserved, but is given. And I just believe that whatever's best for Joshua will happen.
And are you aware generally that he was arrested for some pretty serious charges and that affected other people that were just minding their own business, trying to work honest jobs? You're not trying to minimize that to the court, are you? You understand how serious what he did was, don't you?
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
And do you believe that his ability to be an advocate for himself with regard to his own medications and to be compliant with those medications, is there anything different that you see in him over the last couple of years versus when you were dealing with him in your home before?
Yes, ma'am. Joshua has verbalized to me that he has been functioning better on his medication, and I believe he himself has seen the positive change in himself, and I would hope that he would want to continue that.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, State?
No, sir.
And I believe that my client would like to.
All right, I have one question if there are no objections.
Certainly.
All right, so Ms. Patillo, thank you so much for coming. I noticed that in the PSI report that he had a difficult childhood. You had a difficult childhood as well. Why do you think that you turned out different as opposed to your brother?
Thank you, Your Honor. Honestly, I too have struggled in many ways, just like my brother. And I gave my life to Christ Jesus and committed my life to him. And since doing that, I have been able to make choices to be a mother and a successful citizen. And I just made a choice, Your Honor, that I didn't want to live that way anymore. And I chose to move away from Houston, where we used to live, and I'm in full-time ministry. And I believe that changing environments, changing the people that I choose to hang around with, finding like-minded people who want to live successful lives, is vital to succeed, especially when you've walked through those arenas of life. And I really can just say that my choice to follow Christ has been the ultimate path to my success.
All right, thank you so much. Any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, any other witnesses?
Just my client, Your Honor.
All right, you've already been placed under oath. You're still under oath. You may proceed.
So John, you heard what your sister said, that the biggest difference for her was changing her life in a profoundly significant way.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell the judge how you believe that you've also had a real change in the way that you view yourself and the way that you view what you would want for your future.
Your Honor, I have also dedicated my life to Christ. I've been taking my medicine ever since you had got it court ordered. I'm learning how to deal with certain situations instead of being aggressive and like doing the things that are wrong. Ma'am, I have also followed my sister's steps, and I look forward to doing ministry with her. It's been a hard road for me, losing my mom last year. But I'm thankful. I'm at the mercy of the courts, ma'am. I'm asking for grace. You've heard.
No.
I love my sister.
Do you also have a child, Joshua?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is her name?
Chelsea Janelle Patillo, but she was recently married, and I don't know her married. I do know it, I just can't pronounce it.
And how old is she?
She's 25.
And do you have contact with her as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you feel about the kind of father that you've been to her?
I haven't been the greatest father to her, but I have made it a vow to God to be a better grandfather when I have grandkids by my daughter. I also love my sister's children. I pray for them every day, every night. I'm a praying man now. I'm not the man that these papers say. I can't say anything but, take responsibility as a man and take responsibility for what's going on. I believe the solution is the same thing my sister has said to you as walking in ministry. My life is no longer the same, ma'am. I'm thankful and I'm grateful for having a sister like that. And I know my mom would have wanted us to stick together like this and go into ministry. That was my mom's biggest prayer. I believe I'm still alive because of my sister and my mother's prayers and my daughter. I chose a wrong road, and it led me right back to this type of setting. But I ask for forgiveness to the Lord for everything that I did wrong, and I'm at the mercy of the courts, ma'am. And Your Honor, I appreciate your time and consideration on my cases and everything.
That's all I have, Judge.
Any questions?
Sir, you understand that your actions affected a lot of people,
Yes, sir.
and you understand that a lot of them now have the same mental health issues that you went through affected them.
Yes, sir.
Can you talk more about that? What do you think about that?
I've also prayed for the victims in my cases. I don't really know their names or anything, but I have prayed and I've asked God to forgive me for all those. And I do pray for them as individuals that they'll receive, grace from God and peace. Ultimately the peace, and to restore peace back to them. And I pray for that on a daily basis, sir. And I do feel very remorseful of these situations. I was not on my medications. I was using drugs, and ultimately, I think the drugs. I don't know what happened at different times, but I'm taking responsibility. Like you asked me, I'm taking responsibility for praying for those individuals, and ultimately that they forgive me in their journey and walk with God.
But you would understand if they weren't able to forgive you.
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, anything else?
Just some brief argument. Your Honor.
All right, I have a question. So I always review the PSI report. And did your client have a chance to review the supplemental?
No, and he has trouble reading sometimes too, Judge, but we have discussed that there were multiple victims in the cases and that there were lots of people that suffered because of the choices that we made. We have had those discussions
All right.
previous to today.
So on page 25 of the PSI report, sir, it states, when asked how he feels about the plea agreement and his upcoming sentencing or punishment, he stated, I feel that 20 years is a little high. Like I said, no one was hurt. So do you want to address that?
I really can't say on the time because I don't have a right to say that. But on everything, no one did get hurt, and I've never intentionally wanted to hurt anybody. It was a pandemic. I was trying to take care of Mary Elizabeth Thigpen, and I don't know exactly what I did, but I know I didn't hurt nobody. But like I said, I'm at the mercy of the courts, and I'm not I have no right to say how much time.
Well, you do know. See, when you say that no one's been hurt,
Well,
sometimes people think, did somebody get shot? Did somebody get stabbed? But there are different types of hurt. Because in the supplemental report, this complainant said they now suffer from PTSD. They stated that they worked at the Walgreens for over 25 years and they love their job. And they are no longer able to do that partially because of your actions. So that's pain, right? That's hurt. Counsel, do you have any concerns on whether or not your client is currently competent?
No, I do believe that he is competent. He's been able to assist me since his medications were ordered by the court, and he's been taking them.
Okay. All right, then the court will hear argument. State.
Judge, I think that 20 years is more than fair to the defendant. There have been at least 7 or 8 aggravated robberies that he's playing on, with several that are being taken into consideration here today. There are many victims of his crimes. There are people that are going to live with those scars for years. So the state thinks that it's more than fair that he's going to have 20 years.
All right, defense.
Judge, I know that this is one of those cases where the easy call would just be to say 20 years, we're done. However, I am going to ask the court to do what sometimes judges are here to do, and that is to recognize that there is a balance to be struck between a person's actions, the consequences of their actions, and what I believe that Joshua and his sister, more eloquently than I certainly could ask, are asking the court to consider allowing him, and more importantly, his family, grace. And I know that you are well aware of all of the shortcomings of the judicial system, the lack of serious mental health intervention. Sometimes when, I really believe that we have so many situations like this where it's too little too late was done, and here we are. I do believe, and I hope that you can see, I certainly do, in his sister and in Joshua, because I've been dealing with him for a long time.
Mhm.
And he is a very different person today than the person that I first met.
That's 2020.
Yes. And it's a significant change. I do believe that if he were given an opportunity, and he understands he's got to take responsibility, and he does understand that he is going to prison. But I do believe that there is something to be said for recognizing not just the people he hurt, but the people that hurt him the people who failed him and the people who brought him to this place, in addition to his own choices. And so I think that that's where that grace and mercy come in. And it's not anything that anybody ever deserves. It is something that is shared with all of us by the creator or higher powers that however we choose to see that. And once in a while, it gets spread around when we least expect it. And I think that that kind of mercy and grace can do a lot more good for a lot more people, not just this man standing here before you, but a lot more people than just throwing him back in there for 20 years and crossing our fingers that that's going to fix him, because you and I know it won't. So I'm asking you to give him less than 20. I'm not going to ask you to give a certain number because I trust you to know. But I do believe that this is a situation where some recognition for the changes that he's made and for the sincerity with which he's come and addressed his behavior deserves some grace and mercy, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. I want you to know that I've listened to the argument of your counsel, listened to the testimony of your sister. I always go through and reread the plea paperwork. I always read the PSI report with a fine-tooth comb. And what I want to tell you is I understand that people have mental health issues. I understand that many times there's a lack of services for people who have mental health issues. And nobody keeps track of people with mental health issues. And I know that the reason why this case is old is because one, it's during COVID time. Two, you've been to the state hospital because previously you were declared incompetent and it took a while for you to regain competency. But this is part of my job, is to make sure that the community is protected, right? So I have to balance things. I've been a defense attorney, I've been a prosecutor, and I tell you that to let you know I truly do see both sides, right? I've represented people who have had the charges that you've had, made the argument that your counsel has made, and your counsel has done a very good job for you. But in looking at your history, you've been to prison before for aggravated robbery. And I know from my experience in being a defense attorney that when you're on parole, and this is no knock on parole, but parole sometimes is easier than being on probation. But I do know when you're on parole, they do address any mental health issues you have. They give you case managers. Your sister testified that she called, your parole officer saying, I don't think his medications are correct. So the aggravated robbery that you were paroled on tells me that you knew how to obtain services, right? And sometimes when people are in the throes of a mental health crisis, everything goes out the window as far as where do I go? But then by the same token, you stated, the reason why I committed these aggravated robberies was because I was trying to help the co-defendant. And that's just not the way to go about things. And I understand that anytime that people spend in prison, anytime that people spend in the Bexar County Jail, even if it's 1 day, 1 hour, that's a lot of time. But in these cases, the court is going to sentence you to the 20 years in each of the cases. You'll receive credit for any time served. That means that you'll receive the credit for the time you spent in the state hospital. That legally counts as time as well. So in the cause number 2020 CR 9880, the court will follow your agreement. The court will sentence you to 20 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, credit for any time served in inpatient treatment, which is the state hospital. And legally, you're entitled to all of that credit. Counsel, if there is an issue with the credit and you feel it's not the right number, just let the court know and we'll make sure it's corrected.
I will, Your Honor. Thank you.
And there's to be no contact with the complainant. And the court will note for the record in reviewing the PSI report, no complainant stated or provided any restitution.
Yes, Judge.
All right, and there's an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon. And I'll ask that he be placed in the mental health unit in the therapeutic community. I have no jurisdiction to force them to place you in that, but you're going to have to ask for it, and they'll see that in the court's order that I'm requesting that for you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we can go off the record. Here's the thing. It's so easy, I understand, to become institutionalized when you're in the prison. Don't become institutionalized. And if you have issues with your medication, you need to let them know. And your sister is going to have to be the one to write to the prison if they aren't giving you a proper medication. I say prison is like when you have relatives who go see a doctor, they need somebody to advocate for them, advocate for their mental health, advocate, right? So she's going to have to advocate for you. I'm not allowed to advocate for you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. When you are released from prison, try to do better. You understand? And when you're released, if for some reason you can't find mental health treatment, if I'm still here, you can come back here and I will direct you. Okay?
Thank you. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Good luck to you. Okay?
Good, thank you.
Judge, there were some dismissals.
I've signed them. So,
I just want to make sure he gets his copy.
oh,
of those.
the state has them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.